All right, good morning to everyone. Glad to see you here. Hi, Linda Steiner, I see you there. How are you doing, my friend? And let's see, who else?
Hi. Good morning.
Brenda, good to see you. And Nisa.
Morning.
Awesome to have each one of you with us. A lot of you are going to be on by recording later. I've got great DMs this morning saying, Steve, I can't be there at that meeting. How do I get there? And I'm always trying to make everything as simple as it can. So we make this available by recording, so you can always grab. In fact, I think this is like podcast number 40 just of the Better Each Day 30-minute program that we're starting right now. Now we do 3 of those back-to-back concessions, so in succession. So we're going to do starting right now, Better Each Day. This is the gratitude program that focuses on how to boost your performance by 31%. Then we're going to go to work on the actual compass, and we're going to talk about how to use this today. And specifically, we're going to focus on your superhero. So that's going to be the second 30-minute segment. And we'll do a second link on that. And the third link is going to be focused on getting into what does it mean to have a superhero, and how do you bring out those superhero qualities in yourself by accessing your alter ego. And we're going to connect with the expert on this. His name is Todd Herman, and he actually coaches Olympic athlete and military special forces to do what everyone else believes is the impossible, that superhuman level of performance that wins the gold, that you get to stand on the podium and put that gold medal around your neck. How do you do it? How do you take all of those amazing athletes, or all those extreme level performance in the military, or those individuals that just are outliers in business and in life? And what is it about their mentality up here that allows them to perform and compete and achieve at levels that other people go, they must be superhuman. They must be a superhero. They're doing something that I can't do. And the answer is, I'm true, because what one human can do, all humans can do. What we're going to focus on in session 3 today is how do you start working on this to move yourself from that average mentality that we're used to functioning in, and how do we change? What do we change? What do we say to ourselves? What is it, the ritual that allows those individuals to perform at superhuman levels of achievement? How can we get ourselves there? How can we move ourselves past ourselves, in fact? So that's what we're going to do in session 3. So we've got 90 minutes in front of us. I hope you have your coffee. I hope you have a sheet of paper. And we're going to take a lot of good notes as we jump in here today. So thank you each for being here. And if you're watching this by recording, thank you for being here as well. So here's what we're going to do first. I am going to switch across here. I'm going to give you a little insight. I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'm going to let you see an interesting ad. Can everyone see this?
Yes.
It says, all right, so it says men wanted for hazardous journey, small wages, bitter cold, long months of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return doubtful, honor and recognition in case of success. Anybody know who this guy is named Ernest Shackleton?
No.
This was an ad that was put in a paper in England. I don't know if it was the London Times. I don't know if the London Times existed. This is pre-1915. So over 100 years ago. And this is Captain Shackleton. And if you've read his great book called Invictus, that was the name of his ship. This was one of the first expeditions that went to Antarctic and was trying to actually go across the entire frozen continent in the south and get to the other side. And so Captain Shackleton, if you get a chance to read his book, I've read it a couple of times, incredibly inspirational. This is the ad that he placed in the paper to get individuals to jump on his ship with him and to go with him to a place that no one had ever made it across. Now, people had found it at that point, but they had never gone all the way across. So, is anyone, when you see this ad, I'll show it to you again. Let's look at it now. You know the context. And I want you to see what he was actually saying. So he's looking for individuals to join his crew. And he's first of all telling you that it's going to be a hazardous journey. You're not going to get paid very much. It's going to be bitterly cold all the time. You're going to have many, many months of complete darkness. That's simply because you're at the South Pole. Constant danger, and safe return doubtful. So you're probably not going to come back home. And if you do, you'll have honor and recognition in case of success. So just ask yourself a simple question. Would you reply to this ad and say, can I get on your boat?
No.
Yeah. He was looking for a unique individual. And Captain Shackleton was already an explorer. He was already a noted explorer. And if you know the story, what happened is everything went wrong that could go wrong. They got iced in too early. They were too far out. And the ice came in and literally crushed their ship. So what the men had to do, let's see if I remember correctly, there was 27 men. They took the 3 huge wooden heavy lifeboats, not the light ones that we have today, pontoon boats. These are heavy, thick wooden rowboats, okay? And they offloaded them while the ice is coming in and crushing the ship. They got all their supplies off, stuck it inside of these 3 boats, took the ropes, and each one of them, along with the sled dogs that they had, they started marching across the ice shelf. Anyone know how long they were there to get to the other side of the ice shelf? 17 months. And the average daily temperature was sub-zero, below 32, every day. They had very limited gear, 27 men with Captain Shackleton, and they made it across the ice shelf. Now, when they got across the ice shelf after dragging these boats with all their supplies in it, that's maybe a little bit over a year. Then what they had to do is get in the boats and start rowing in the frozen South Antarctic Ocean. Their hands were literally frozen to the oars. When they took them off, it would take part of their skin off with them every day, okay? Some of them were sick. Other ones were all malnutrition because they just didn't have enough food to eat. And they made it to a little granite island called Elephant Island. They left about 2/3 of the crew there that had now just become so beaten up by the ocean and the salt spray. Their skin was literally just like sandblasted off their face, okay? They had to leave them there, so they took 2 of the boats, made a lean-to on a little granite island with a little tiny beach, and they just left them there. There was nothing else they can do. And Captain Shackleton, his navigator, his first mate, and 2 other guys took a 300-mile launch off of Elephant Island to try to get back to the whaling station where they could get an actual ship to come back and rescue the other guys. If their degrees had been off just a little bit, they would have missed it entirely. They'd have missed this little speck in the middle of the South Antarctic Ocean. When they get within sight of the island, guess what's going on the island? There's a hurricane. There's a hurricane waiting for them while they're trying between them and the island, and an 80-man steam vessel actually went under that night while they were in the middle of this hurricane. They're being beaten around. They're sick. They're malnutrition. The next day, they finally make it ashore. They have to drop some of the men off at a cave because they're so beaten up, they can't go any further. And Captain Shackleton and his first mate, and I think the navigator, had about 10 foot of rope, 1 adex, which is an ice pick, no special gear. And they had to go across the island to get to the whaling station on the other island. 40 years later, the British mountaineer Olympic team came back to that same area after this story and tried to follow the same path that Captain Shackleton and his 2 other men did, with all the best gear, all the best training, fully nutrition, not beat up after being on the ice for 17 months. And the British Olympic team could not do the same thing they did. They couldn't make it across the mountains. So how did they do it? Were they superhumans? Were we talking about, Superman and Aquaman and who else is here? Wonder Woman. Was that who was on the team? Well, no, these were just normal people, but look at the mentality of where they're coming from. Okay, what did they think and how did they think? That's what we're focusing on in today's masterclass. So when you look at the ad and you go, why would these individuals sign up for some level of challenge that they're telling you you're going to be bitterly cold, you're not going to get paid very well, the journey is going to be full of hazards, you're going to be in darkness many, many months because there's no sunlight on that side, the way the planet tilts. You're going to be in constant danger. And they had no clue that the danger was going to be so extreme. But guess what? At the end of those 17 months, how many men had died?
None. Wow.
0. All 27 men made it back. In fact, when Captain Shackleton made it across the mountain and got to the whaler station, when he walked in, they couldn't believe him. They thought they were dead. And so he went in there to get a vessel to go rescue the rest of his men that were down on Elephant Island. And they had to try how many times to get in there to rescue him? 3. So he failed 2 more times trying to get these steam vessels down into the ice to rescue his men. And the sea locks up with the ice and you can't actually get through it. So he had 2 failed attempts that he had to go back to the whaler station and leave his men. But he didn't quit. He kept coming back. The 3rd time he had an icebreaker. He broke through, got there, rescued them all. Everybody went home. Everybody went home. Now, you got to think about this. If that was your mission, would you be able to pull it off? Would you have the leadership skills? Would you have the perseverance? Would you have the grit, the determination to get everyone back home alive? Or would you feel that it's too dark, it's too cold, I'm too hungry, we're never going to make it back. The chances are so slim. We're just going to die in the middle of the sea. So I'm going to give up right now, quit, and just fall down. A lot of people would do that. Okay. So what made Captain Shackleton different? At the end, they were looking at the journals of these men that had written while they were going across this death march, freezing to death. Their wool gloves, literally the only thing they had between them and the ice shelf that they slept on every single night. They had to cut holes in the ice and bait these big, huge, they weren't seals, they were these massive sea lions. They would bait them to come up out of the ocean, and they would try to eat them in thinking that they were a seal or something, and they'd have to shoot them with one shot and then use the blubber and everything else to feed everybody. That's all they had to eat for a year and a half. And we get upset if we don't have variety, if we go to our local favorite restaurant and we don't have 20 or 30 items. They had one item, and that was sea lion meat and blubber. And that's what they ate for a year and a half. So here's my point. Whatever you think you're faced with in life that's holding you back, that you think you can't make it through, there is a way if you decide that it has to happen. If you decide that something has to be different about you, if you decide that making across that destination is not about the money, it's not even about the accolades, it's about the question of who are you as a human being? The Creator has given us all different challenges. Maybe it's not crossing the Antarctic or losing our vessel or having to go across sub-frozen temperatures every day for a year and a half with no warmness. Maybe it's just something that you have in front of you right now that you think is the 800-pound gorilla. Will you be able to stand up one more time after you've been beaten down again and again and again? Success is that constant refusal to do what?
What?
It's the constant refusal to quit. That's it. It doesn't mean that every day is going to be standing on the podium getting the gold medal around your neck with the ticker tape or the confetti and all that stuff and all the music and everything flying around. To get to that podium, there are 10,000 hours of doing the thing that no one else wants to do, doing the thing that everybody laughs at you about, doing the thing that everyone thinks that you must have lost your damn mind. And when you continue to be consistent and persist in your endeavor, Dr. Viktor Frankl called it the struggling and the striving for a worthy cause. And when you continue on that focus, the struggling and the striving for a worthy cause, there are many, many days that are going to be dark. There are many, many times when you're going to feel that your environment is hazardous. There are many times when you're going to not get paid well, that you're going to feel that the night is very dark and it's never going to end. The reason why I'm showing you the story about Captain Shackleton and beginning our discussion today about becoming superheroes is that each one of us has a superhero inside of us. And in fact, how many of you have your compass device? If you have your compass, you will look inside. In fact, I'm going to actually show you. I'll show you on the screen here. Give me half a second. We're going to look at this compass device. All right, I'm going to share my screen with you. And this is the inside panel. Okay, can you see this right here?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So this is the inside panel. This is the updated version. You should have this link already. And so this is the part here that we're focusing on, the inside panel about appreciation, being appreciative and giving praise to individuals that are worthy of that. Okay. This is focusing on working on your future and giving thanks and something like that. But what I wanted to focus on here is this section. Okay. Is who is your superhero and why are they your superhero? Okay. So this is actually part of our device that we're going to touch about in the second part and talk about the compass. And before we get there though, I want to give you some insights. I'm going to share with you, this is about a 7-minute video. I'm going to share this with you from Dr. Joe Dispenza. And he's going to help you understand how do you touch a feeling of the future that you have yet to experience. So the secret to doing the near impossible is you have to be able to use your imagination to put yourself not into the pain of the future, but past the pain of your future. How do you do it? Well, we're going to find out from someone that teaches millions of people how to achieve their best. Hang on. Oh, hang on. I want to actually do one other thing. Sorry. All right. It's set up correct. Okay, cool. Here we go.
And many people ask, how do I feel a feeling of an experience that I haven't had yet? Well, think about this. The number one feeling that we feel when our life begins to change or we begin to have feedback from our environment that what we're doing inside of us is producing an effect outside of us. The most common emotion that we feel is a love for life, a joy for existence, grateful, a real deep sense of gratitude. Now think about the emotional signature of gratitude. The emotional signature of gratitude means that something has already happened. When you receive something, or when you're given something, or you are in the process of receiving or have received it, you give thanks. So the moment you start feeling this emotion of appreciation and thankfulness, you will automatically say thank you, which means I've just received something, I'm acknowledging that I'm receiving it from you. Most people live their lives waiting for something outside of them to change how they feel inside of them. They're waiting for their new relationship. They're waiting for their new job. They're waiting for their new mystical moment to occur before they feel the emotions. So basically, they're spending the majority of their time waiting and not creating, living in lack, living in emptiness, living in fear, waiting for that external event to take away their emptiness or pain. That's the Newtonian model of reality, of cause and effect. Turns out, though, the moment you're feeling that lack, you tend to try harder and force and control and try to predict or manipulate the outer world because you're doing everything you can because you're experiencing a separation or polarity from what you want. You're waiting for it to happen and not creating. When you combine a clear intention with an elevated emotion, a heart-centered emotion, not the emotions of survival that are anger and hostility and aggression and competition or hatred or envy or jealousy or insecurity or fear or anxiety or pain or suffering or guilt or shame. Those are derived from the hormones of stress. An elevated emotion is a heart-centered emotion. And a heart-centered emotion lacks polarity. This is the center of oneness. This is the center of wholeness. This is the union of opposites. This is our connection, our bridge to the quantum field. This is where we connect. When you begin to feel a heart-centered emotion, what you're doing is you're falling in love with your life. So your body is your unconscious mind. It does not know the difference between an experience that creates an emotion and an emotion that you're creating by thought alone. Your body is believing it's living in that future reality in the present moment. Now think about this. The latest research on genes says the environment signals the gene. Well, the end product of an experience in the environment is called an emotion. So when you begin to embrace the emotion ahead of the actual experience, you're signaling the gene ahead of the environment. And now you're beginning to instruct and select new genes that make new proteins. And proteins are responsible for the structure and function of your body. So you're literally becoming your dream. You're literally becoming it. So when you feel that emotion, you tend to be less interested in looking around outside of you of how it's going to happen. If you're walking around conditioning your body every day to feel that emotion, that you're in love with yourself and you're in love with life and you're worthy to receive and you're open and you're inspired and you're optimistic and you're enthusiastic and you're feeling that emotion, you feel like your future has already happened. So you're less likely to feel lack or separation. Once energy makes it to this center and you feel gratitude, that center begins to produce a measurable magnetic field. That's a frequency, that's energy, and all frequency carries information. So now you can lay the thought of your new relationship on that frequency, and now you're broadcasting a whole new electromagnetic signature into the field. So then the longer you're conscious of that energy, the more you're calling your future to you. When this center is opened up, you're connected to the quantum field. So now you don't have to go anywhere to get it, to try to force it or control it or predict it. In fact, you're the magnet. You're collapsing time and space, and the event is being drawn to you, and it comes in synchronicities and serendipities and coincidences, opportunities. Now, the antithesis is also true. The moment you feel angry because you're in traffic, the moment you judge your coworker because all of a sudden they push an emotional button, the moment you feel sorry for yourself, victimized or self-pity, you're now emitting a different energy. In fact, you're back to the energy of your past and you just disconnected from your future. So then people's dreams stay at arm's length from them. So people ask me all the time, well, how come my new relationship hasn't happened? And I tell them the same thing. Take out a piece of paper and write down everything you want in a new relationship and then become that person. Because the question fundamentally is, would you go out with you? So if the answer is you're starting to love yourself so much that you no longer need another person, or you're no longer in lack, then you magnetize an equal. It just happens as a side effect. And it doesn't happen in ways that you can predict. It happens in different ways. So the emotions of gratitude, appreciation, thankfulness, a love for life, a joy for existence, worthy to receive, inspired and enthusiastic to be alive, looking forward and in excitement and anticipation to the unknown, staying in that energy without analyzing. That's the energy that allows the unknown to begin to occur. So what you're doing is you're teaching your body emotionally what that future feels like. And when you're in a state of gratitude, you're in the perfect state to receive the fruits of your efforts.
Wow. What'd you learn? Number one thing.
The one thing is getting into the feeling. And if you get into the feeling of the future of what you want, then you've already got it. So you don't feel like you need it and it's attracted to you. And also, there was a thing that he said, now it's just slipped my mind. But yes, so when you're in the feeling, it's you already give, and when you're doing gratitude, you're giving thanks. So it's like you've already received it. And if you've already received it, your body doesn't know the difference between past and future.
Sure.
They can't tell the difference. So it's almost like you having the experience. So it's like you've already got it. And also becoming what you want.
Exactly. You know, that's where we go back to the goal concept of building goals, building objectives. It's something that we do as part of our program. We build out what is the gravestone experience. We work backwards to who you are becoming in 10 years from now. And then we come up with two objectives. You know, what are the objectives that are going to take me 1 to 10 years to do? They're going to help me become my better version in a decade from now. And Then we break down to the little things. What are we doing today, tomorrow, this week that are taking us to those two objectives? They're going to take us to our becoming in a decade from now, and ultimately have us arrive at that podium called gravestone and have that life that is worthy, have that life that is meaningful. That is the major thing that Dr. Viktor Frankl talks about. My favorite book over here, Man's Search for Meaning. So when you have that meaning, that meaningfulness, then you have something that you are now aligned to do. Every psychosis that we have on this planet, and this is not me saying this isn't Steve, this is Dr. Viktor Frankl saying everything that's depression, anxiety, stress, all those things that are debilitating, that cause us to release that very damaging hormone in our body called cortisol that literally destroys us from inside out. It causes aging, it causes debilitation of organs, it causes malfunctioning of our standard processes. It all comes from cortisol. That is a stress hormone. So when you are dealing with that stress, the stress is you having a level of fear about what? Not having a meaningful outcome. If you have meaning, if you have logos in Greek, that's what Viktor Frankl is talking about. All of those psychoses, not neuroses, that's different. Neuroses is a chemical imbalance in the brain, okay? That's handled by prescriptions that's necessary, whether it's lithium or whatever version it is. Those are individuals that are trained to provide that balancing that's missing based on neurochemistry. Psychochemistry, okay, is the fact that you are feeling a certain way, depressed. You're feeling a certain way, fearful, anxious. What's the other one? Panic attacks, okay? Where do they come from? They come from someone doing what with their imagination? Experiencing a future event that hasn't even happened already. And from your imagination, you create a physical manifestation called a panic attack, an anxiety attack, depression. How many people are actually debilitated by that? We know in the United States, it has become an epidemic. There is more prescriptions being handed out for that. You don't need a prescription. A prescription just numbs the feeling of pain that you are feeling because your imagination is experiencing an event in the future that hasn't occurred. The other thing that depression is part of is not anxiety and panic. Depression is the lack of feeling something in the future. You don't have anything that is meaningful, anything that you are striving towards, the struggling and the striving for a worthy cause. That's what Viktor Frankl said is the definition of a what? Healthy mindset. So I'm giving you this perspective now and comparing it against where we started with Captain Shackleton and 27 men signing up for an event that they were probably not going to come back from, that they were not going to make any money. They were not going to, score. They were not going to stack cash in their bank account. Why did they do it? Why did these 27 men volunteer to sign up for Captain Shackleton's event? These individuals were a rare type of human being that wanted to find out what they were made of inside when you were challenged at the greatest edge of our capabilities. One of the diaries mentioned from those 17 months of the 27 men every day, putting on those ropes like plow horses and dragging wooden boats full of their supplies, all they had to survive, the tents that they lived on top of frozen snow every single day. That's what they slept in. The little bit of milk powder that they had to drink something that was semi-warm. They had a little cup every morning. That was their ration, okay? Dragging those bullets and rifles to kill the sea lions when they baited them up out of the ocean so they could feed them in. How did they do that every single day without losing heart, without quitting? They kept getting up again and again and again. What was that? They wanted to test to see what was inside of them. What were they doing inside of their mind that was allowing them to overcome this impossible obstacle? They were already seeing a future, just like Dr. Dispenza is talking about here. Your mind, your imagination doesn't distinguish between your imagining or your dream of a future or you experiencing your reality in the present moment. So because your imagination doesn't determine the two, you can use your imagination that you're using right now to experience depression, anxiety, panic, all those other negative things, you feel those because your imagination creates the movie, the event, the feeling inside your head, and then you have the physical manifestation. Your energy goes down, you feel bad, you can't get up, all those kind of things that come with those negative feelings. You're already good at using your imagination to create your immediate manifestation. All Dr. Dispenza is talking about is you can choose. And before we didn't know we could choose. You were allowing these events to happen to you. And now you have an opportunity to go, wait a second, I don't want that. I want something different. Yes, Donner.
Yes, this reminds me of what you call the law of attraction.
Law of attraction. That's exactly what it is. You know, you're right on the money. We attract what we have in our present moment. And what we don't know, what we're not conscious of, is that we're attracting those things to us that are hurting us. We are creating our moment in this world, in this reality, without consciousness. And so when we gain that consciousness, then all of a sudden, what do we have? We have control. We have an opportunity to create our own future. Remember how he talked about that you can create as opposed to just letting life happen to you? Letting life happen to you is us without intention, without a clear intention of what we're doing.
Yes, but earlier you said, Steve, everyone has this inside of us to reach it.
Yes.
Did you mean every person in the world, or
Yes.
is it? Yeah.
Every person in the world has the ability, but no one's teaching them. There's no training manual. So what happens is we default to those habits and thinking patterns that we get from who? Those people that are around us. They're called our peers. Most of the time, they're called our parents. And we look at the performance of our parents and we go, not really stellar. It's okay. Maybe they were average. Maybe they had a job. They lived their life, had a retirement, and eventually died one day. But they really didn't do anything exceptional, certainly not anything to be rated as a superhero. They just decided to deal with the way things were coming instead of choosing how they wanted to use their imagination to create their future. They just let the future happen to them. And that is our ultimate choice. If we do not create our future, if we do not mentally, consciously decide how we want to feel about achieving that thing that the Creator put in front of us, to go across Antarctica if we need to do those things that we feel that are beyond our capability, but then we go, wait a second. I heard a story one time about Captain Shackleton and his crew on the Invictus. And they were able to do something that sounds superhuman. Well, wait a second. If one human can do it, guess what? All humans can do it. They made a choice. They decided not to roll up and quit and go, oh, geez, we're never going to be able to fix this. It's over. There's no way we could make it across the ice shelf in sub-frozen temperatures for 17 months and then row across the South Antarctic Ocean, 300 plus miles, and run into a hurricane and then get through the hurricane and then have to climb over mountains with 10 feet of rope and one addicts. I can't do that. I'm not trained as a mountaineer. I didn't go to school for that. I don't have a degree in climbing rocks and sliding down snow. No, that's not, those are all excuses. And I'm saying this to you as much as I'm saying this to myself. Life continues to test us to find out what we're made of, to find out where our breaking point is, to find out what will make you stop. And if you're at that point, or you know someone that's at that point, the most important thing you can give them is the understanding that your imagination is creating the feeling that's making you want to quit. And your imagination can also create the feeling that will want to make you get up one more time. You get to choose. Make sense?
Makes sense.
All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you the link for our next event here in just a second. I want to pull it up so we can jump on the next call here. Hang on a second. Well, here we go. I'm going to drop the link in right here into our chat so that you have it, and I'll see you on session number 2. There you go. I'll see you on session number 2 in about 30 seconds. Everybody got it? All right.
Yes.
See you.